How do we factor using Australian method? I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on factoring trinomials. In this video, we'll discuss how do we factor terms like ax squared plus bx plus c where a is greater than 1. We mainly use two different methods. One is product and sum method. The other one is the Australian method. We are going to discuss the Australian method in details and see how do we apply it to effectively get the solution, that is to factor the trinomials. Well, in case you want to learn from me directly, you can send an email on globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. We'll take a few examples in this video and continue in our series to learn more about Australian method of factoring trinomials. So let's begin with the very first question at hand, which is 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. So let me rewrite the question here. 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. In product and sum method, as you know, we write product of these two numbers, leading coefficient and the constant term. So in this particular case, the product is given to us as 2 times minus 15. So let me write minus 15 times 2, which is equal to minus 30. Now we want to find another number whose sum is minus 7. So sum should be minus 7. So we are looking for two numbers m and n whose product means m times n is equal to minus 30 and their sum m plus n is equal to minus 7. So clearly the two numbers could be what? One has to be negative, the other positive, negative being a bigger number. So the two numbers which we came across which can satisfy the condition are minus 10 and plus 3, correct? So we can say let m be minus 10 and n be 3. So in all our examples, we'll take the bigger number as m and the smaller as n, right? So we get our product and sum combination. So in this standard method of product and sum, we split the middle term into two terms and rewrite the expression as 2x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 15. And after doing that, we factor the two binomials, right? So if I factor 2x squared minus 10x, I get 2x common. So that gives us x minus 5. Plus 3 is a common factor here. That also gives us x minus 5 as a factor. Now we can take x minus 5 as a common factor and we'll get the result which is 2x plus 3. So you see, to factor we involve all these steps. Step number 1 is of course writing product and sum and finding the two numbers m and n. That is very critical in any factoring for that matter. Even in Australian method, we first need to do that step. So this step is common. Now the difference is that we split the center number, in this case minus 7x, as minus 10x and plus 3x, and then we followed group factoring steps, right, to get the factor. So there are 4 steps involved, as you can see, right? Step number 1 being writing as product and sum, and then splitting, and then finding common factors between the binomials, and then getting the result. Now let us look into the Australian method to do the same thing. So as I said, step 1 is same. So step 1 in this particular case will be to find sum and product, right? So let me rewrite the question once again. So we'll do same question, 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. Product being minus 30, right? So minus 15 times 2, which is minus 30. the sum being minus 7, and we found that m and n are minus 10 and plus 3. So we do get the same step 1, which is finding the product and the sum, correct? Now from here the difference comes in. So this is slightly shorter than the other method and sometimes therefore preferred. So how do we do it? Is something like this. We rewrite 2x as such, right? And then write down the factor, which is minus 10. That becomes our first factor. The second one, again, we write 2x and the other factor plus 3. Now, clearly, if I multiply 2x with 2x, what do I get? Well, I get 4x squared, but I just need 2x squared. You see that? So that means we should divide this by 2. So if I divide this by 2, then I get my result. You get the idea, right? So we have our factor done. Now it is much simpler. So the third step itself, we get our result. If you divide the first factor by 2, what do you get? You get x minus 5, and the next factor remains as 2x plus 3. You get the idea, right? So what we did is we simplified this by dividing the first factor by 2, and we got a result, right? So I hope you appreciate the basic method, right? So basically what we are trying to do is, once we find the m and n terms, then in general, if the equation is ax squared plus bx plus c, we write this as ax plus m times ax plus n divided by a. Now, this was a simple case when a was divided into one of the factors. Sometimes we need to simplify both the factors, and that is what we are going to see in coming examples. So I hope the steps are clear. Now let's take up another question. I'd like you to pause the video, do it along with me or slightly ahead of me, so that you are sure that you understand the technique learned. So the technique here is, our equation is 6x squared minus x plus 2, right? So we are looking for product and sum. Product of two numbers, m and n, should be 6 times 2, which is plus 12. And the sum, m plus n, should be equal to minus 1. Now clearly the two numbers which can work for us are 4 and 3. Now 4 being negative because the sum is negative, right? Smaller number being positive. So we have m and n. M is minus 4 for us and 3 is n for us. Since we have these two numbers, we can actually write this in the factored form, 6x, the first factor being minus 4, right, times 6x, the other factor being plus 3. And this time we will divide by 6. You see, 6 cannot divide into one factor. So we have to now split 6 into 2 and 3 to get our result. Do you see that? So that is the complication involved. So basically what I notice is that here also 4 steps are required, right? So we could rewrite this as, let me show you the work very clearly, right? So we have 6x plus 3. So we could multiply one with 2, the other one with 3, right? So that is 6, right? So now simplifying, we get 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 1, correct? 6 divided by 3 is 2, right? So 2x plus 1. Do you see how we factored it? So now we had to simplify it further because 6 was not going into any one factor, right? So we had to split 6 into two components and then do the result. However, you could find, without splitting the center term, you could actually do this by splitting a itself. You get the idea, right? So I think this is absolutely clear, right? Well, in case you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. And in case you want to learn from me directly, you could always contact me on globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. Let's continue with our next example, which is this time 10x squared minus x minus 3, right? Once again, what are the product and sum? Well, m times n, the product should be 10 times minus 3, which is minus 30, and the sum m plus n should be minus 1. So once again, we get minus 30 as our product. 6 times 5 can work for us, so we can write minus 6 and plus 5, right? So m is minus 6 for us and plus 5 is the value of n. That should work. So if I have to factor this, then it should look like what? Well, we write 10x, the first factor being minus 6 and the other with 10x is plus 5. And we're going to divide this by 10. Once again, you need to split 10, right? So in most of the cases, you'll find that you have to split the denominator into its factors. So here we are looking at two terms, right? One is 10x minus 6, the other one is 10x plus 5, right? 10 can be written as 2 times 5, so I'll write 2 times 5 here, looking clearly that 15 can only be divided by 5, right? So we get our two factors. We get 5x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. Makes sense, right? So what we did was we divided this 2 into 10 and 6, right? Getting 5 and 3 here, and divided this into 2 and 1. Is that clear to you? So that is how we actually got our result. Perfect. Let's take another example. Here is the next question, which is 6x squared minus 23x plus 15. So I like you to treat this as a test question, okay? So 6x squared minus 23x plus 18, correct? Now, the difficult part here, because the numbers are big, how do we find m and n? The product we are looking for is 6 times 15, right? So 2 times 15 is 30, and then 3 times is 90, right? So we got 90 as our product, and the sum is equal to minus 23. So what two numbers could give us 90 and 23? So that is a challenge many times. So how do we get this? So here is a tip for you to get into the solution of this particular thing. So I prefer to factor 6 and 15 themselves, right? So 6 and 15 rather than multiplying them. 6 is, as you know, 2 times 3, 15 is 3 times 5. Now you see, I could combine these three terms. 3 times 3, 9 times 2, 18 and 5. You get the idea. 18 and 5. Both negative because we want the sum to be negative, product to be positive. You get the idea. So we get the value of m as minus 18, right? So I'm writing bigger number first and the smaller number later. So when you multiply minus 18 with minus 5, you do get plus 90, and the sum is 23. So here is a great technique to use. Factor the terms involved to get your sum and product m and n values, right? Now it is simple. We will write this as 6x, the first term being minus 18, times 6x minus 5, right? And clearly, what we could do here is that we have to divide by 6, right? Since we are dividing by 6, well, this time it is very clear. The first term divided by 6 will give us the result. So we could rewrite this as x minus 3 times 6x minus 5. You see that? So once you get practice of working with Australian method, it is not going to be very difficult for you. You will understand how do we use the denominator to simplify and write down our expression, right? Is it making sense to you? Perfect. So with that, we kind of end our video. So here, rest of the questions are there for you to solve, correct? So here are so many questions here. In the next next series 2, we'll take up balanced questions and then see how do we work with them. Well, in case you want to support our channel, feel free to send an email. In Canada, you can also transfer with email transfer. Any amount, 10, 20, $15 is a good amount for us to sustain sharing with you absolutely free videos. Today, we have more than 17,000 videos which are being watched over 80 countries. Let us give this good knowledge to all globally. Thanks for your support and all the best.